And that's right. Star Trek, the original series, season 3, episode 14 or episode 17, depending on what order you go in, is over and has been since 1969, even though it takes place in 2268. I'm Dave Mader, coming at you with Star Trek and TV movie reviews here on Live Long and Podcast, streaming live on Facebook and YouTube. Joined as I am every Monday here for Ted Trek Mondays with my dad, Ted. How you doing tonight, Dad?
Good, thank you. Good to be here.
Good. Also joining us to talk about That Which Survives is Jody Simpson. How you doing tonight, Jody?
Oh, I didn't see you. How are you?
Well, didn't mean to sneak up on you there.
Hi. I'm doing good, thank you.
Just not very much like this mysterious woman who just pops into situations. And
I thought I felt somebody touch my shoulder, but
yes,
I could be wrong.
Yes. It could be, and lastly, we have Adam Woodward to round out our panel for tonight's episode. How you doing tonight, Adam?
Pretty good. I want to touch Jody.
Ooh, I felt it.
Yeah, you want to create that cellular disruption.
That's right.
Yes. Yeah. Let's dive into this episode as we continue our mission, and it's coming. It's winding down here as we're watching every original series episode not in order here on Live Long and Podcast, and this is I guess our 66th episode. We're coming of the original 79 episodes, so there's 13 to go, including this, I suppose. And this was one I definitely have seen before, but didn't really remember. And the title is one of these titles, That Which Survives, which is that which I never remember. Dad, what did you think of this episode?
I liked it. It's good. It's a good episode. I don't remember it, watching it too many times over the years, but it was good.
Yeah. Okay. Jody, how about you?
I don't remember this episode at all. I started watching it, I'm like, oh, this is kind of vaguely familiar, and then it's like, nope. Once I saw her, I'm like, no, I don't remember this episode at all. I thought I did, but I didn't. So
it has some connective or some similar things to other episodes, as many Star Trek episodes do.
Reminds me of a season 1 TNG episode.
Well, I think you might be onto something there, and I had a similar thought.
Maybe just a little bit.
Adam, over to you. This episode, did you enjoy it? How recently did you watch?
I watched it last night. Is Dave still there, or is he gone?
Yeah, he's kind of laggy. Yeah,
he's phasing.
He's back.
I'm phasing.
Okay. I don't remember ever seeing this episode before. I watched it last night. I liked it. Kept my attention. It was good. Yeah, we'll talk more about it, but it wasn't awful.
Would you agree with Jody that this is got some similar things to maybe a Next Generation episode in that it's more ensemble? Was my thought around it.
Yeah, I can't recall what episode you guys are referring to. If you're or just the fact that it's an ensemble.
More generically, in the sense that I feel like more of these original series episodes are Kirk focused. Sometimes Spock and Kirk or something, but this was a little bit more distributed among the principals.
It was. There was that's why it was engaging. There was so many different actors who were involved in this episode, and that scene that Jody's got up there was hilarious.
Yeah, we had two doctors.
Two doctors.
Two doctors doing doctor stuff. We had
my favorite was Radha, which is clearly supposed to be an Indian woman.
Yes.
Yeah.
Because the name Radha is a Indian name, and I'm gonna go out on a limb here and say she's clearly not an Indian woman.
Lieutenant Radha, yeah. So I believe that they're indicating she's of South Asian descent. I think also with maybe the mark on her forehead to
like I'm all for the representation. That's great, but
she was played by an actress named Naomi D. Pollock, who is still alive. Now is 91 years old. She
Pollock
first appeared
doesn't strike me as an Indian name.
Sounds maybe a little bit more Polish, perhaps. Is a Native American. She played the Native American woman in the episode "The Paradise Syndrome." I don't think we've watched that one.
No, not yet.
And she's also in this, That Which Survives. She's from New York City. There's nothing here to. She's she's a Jewish descent. It appears. So
that makes more sense.
But I think they were trying to go for this representation, although, yes, perhaps.
Hey, I'm all for the representation. That's fine.
Yeah. Or perhaps, by the 23rd century, you could be of mixed descent.
No Chekhov in this episode.
No. If we want a Russian history lesson, we would have brought him along, but we didn't
That's
want
right.
one.
We didn't need that lesson, so therefore he didn't come.
Yeah, we didn't bring him.
Wow.
Whoa, Dad.
Okay, they're dead.
Major collapse.
Oh,
There was the whole contraption came down. All right.
It came down.
someone's been drinking.
Sulu was annoying.
There was great lines in this movie by Spock, and he was.
Yeah,
he was
Spock
good on his
was
game.
very well written. I agree with you in this episode.
He was on his game.
Not on
He-
character though.
Very cocky.
He wasn't
Very
on character, but he was well written.
a little bit dismissive. A little,
bit.
I want you accurate, damn it.
I will. I don't. Please refrain from subjective descriptions. Was one of my favorites. And I don't. Yeah, then Scotty saying I don't need a blooming cuckoo clock.
Yeah.
Maybe one of my others.
Yeah, we're 1,000 light years away. No, we're 997 light years
Yeah.
away.
I would like if you were a little bit
Yeah.
more on your game, please, Lieutenant Rada and and Commander Scott.
Like seriously, at that point, you're just like, I'm gonna smack a bitch. Like it's like, did you have to go that far? Like
Let's talk about the premise.
1,000 was a good round.
That there's a bit of a scientific mystery to kick off this episode. With they find this planet that's about the size of the moon, Earth's moon, but it's heavier and it's got atmosphere like Earth, but it's only a few thousand years old, and so there's this big scientific mystery, I suppose. Mystery is the word I'm looking for. Thank you, Adam. And so I don't know. Kirk's like, I'm going down. Get me a geologist. I'm taking the doctor with me, even though I'm probably not going to need any medical advice. Well, who knows? And the Sulu, because we might need to fly somewhere. I'm questioning the choice. But anyway, they beam down. But in the process of beaming down, as they're coming in, we meet this. We meet, what's her name? Lysira. We don't even really know. We don't even know her name for most of the episode.
We don't really meet her. We just see her.
That's not her.
No, but this is her first victim. This is
That
Ensign
was the first
Wyatt.
victim.
Ensign Wyatt.
Did anybody like the minute they got into the transporter room, you saw the 2 blue shirts, you saw the 2 gold shirts, and then you saw the one guy with the red shirt running this thing, and you're like, that dude's gonna die.
He wasn't even beaming down this time, and he died.
No, but the minute I saw him, I'm like, that guy's dead.
You called it. So we find out that very late in this episode that it's, I guess, due to this automatic defense system of the planet, but there's not a lot of rhyme or reason. We don't really know what the heck's going on. Meanwhile, while that's going on with the transporter, and then Kirk and them materialize, Spock and the rest of them, Scotty, Uhura, not Chekhov, he's not around, but he's presumably somewhere. They've been knocked 997 light years, if we're going to be exact, across, which is quite a distance. So, but they're like, okay, well, we better get back to where we started and see if the captain's still alive. And so it creates this episode where we have the two plot lines. We got the Kirk and the away team, which is like Sulu and D'Amato and McCoy, and then we got the rest of the crew, mostly with Spock and Scotty, and a bit of Uhura and a bit of this other doctor Mbenga, who we've met at least one other time, who seems to fill in for McCoy on occasion. And I don't think there's anybody else on the Enterprise that really has much of a part, other than, I guess, Lysira. And then there's the other victims that get killed, like Watkins on the Enterprise. He dies in the engine room, and there's a few others that meet an unfortunate fate.
The guy on the planet died. The geologist.
Yeah, D'Amato, who I thought was actually what I liked about D'Amato in this episode was that he was presented in a quite like competent way, where she's like, when because they break up to try to scan around, try to find water, because they know that they have no food here and that they're stranded for an undetermined amount of time. So D'Amato ends up meeting Lysira in these rocks, these sparkly little rocks. And he's like, I'm not afraid, but don't want you to touch me. But he handles it about as well as he can, except he never calls out for help until he's dying, and that ends up getting him killed.
So Dave, since I've got to know you, I look at uniforms all the time now. Did you notice the blue difference here between his uniform and McCoy's when they were standing next to each other?
I did notice it. You're right. It was one of those things where I couldn't quite be sure if it was what I was seeing, and I was like, maybe it's the lighting or whatever. Yeah, but I don't have a shot of them side by side, but yes, it did.
Do you have it? Do you have it?
Do you have a shot of D'Amato standing next to McCoy?
Well, pause your screen right now.
Oh yeah, you can just look at the screen from down there to there. Yeah, I would say D'Amato's blue looks a little bit more powdery, if you will.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know.
D'Amato's right here.
Okay.
That's
do you say would you say that there's a difference?
I think a little bit, maybe. Yeah.
Maybe Kurt or maybe McCoy just washed his more. I don't know.
McCoy's is more battle torn.
Yeah, maybe gets a little bit more wear.
He's getting more
the next time he comes up, though, I'll pause it just on him.
Here he is. Yeah.
All right. Now I'm gonna go with the same.
No,
it's to me. It's not the same.
One's in the background, one's in the foreground, so the light's different on the foreground.
So let him walk into the foreground.
All right, hold on. Here.
Like if you look at a show like Star Trek: The Next Generation, like you would look at people all in the sick bay, and they'd all have different colors and shades of blue on.
You know what? It is a little darker.
Yes,
I think it is a little darker. I guess maybe they put a little bit more of the fabric dye in that batch.
Yeah. Also, D'Amato, he just has like this. The shirt. Just
Why are we talking about this?
It's uniforms. Adam wants to talk, and I was like, Adam wants to talk uniforms.
You two should start your own podcast, like Uniform Talk or something.
Yeah, well, maybe, like I don't know. I don't know.
Did you see Dave's eyes light up when I said that? He's like, maybe.
I don't know if Adam wants to be on that uniform podcast.
I do enjoy a good uniform.
Yeah, there you go.
You're gonna have to wait. I already reserved Adam for.
I'll talk him down. Yes, but every time a season 3 episode comes on, I do have an appreciation for this velour material. That it just pops a little bit more versus season 1 and season 2, where it just looks a little bit more drabby.
My exact thoughts are what Ted's face is showing me right now. Ted's just like. Why are we talking about this?
Soon they'll move on to a new subject.
It's either that or he's got some sort of discontent for his son. One of the two.
Yeah.
I was actually last night. I think Sulu looks good in his uniform.
I think you guys spend way too much time looking at uniforms, but all right.
Well, maybe.
Hey, it's part of the look, It's a big part of what you spend your time looking at.
All right.
Okay, where were we? Okay, so they're separated. They're apart. D'Amato, he's dead. Let's just kind of yada yada some of this stuff, but there's also the mystery of how the transporter chief died, the cellular damage, and what also kills D'Amato, the cellular damage. So there's kind of like some of the mysteries are being solved in the two plot lines, sort of in parallel to one another. What did it, and who? And I did like that it kind of spread it out. Like I thought Sulu had quite a bit to do. I thought that on the Enterprise, I thought that Spock was really in a command position, and having to work with Scotty in particular.
He was, but again, when have we ever seen him so freaking precise? That was a tad annoying.
That's what I was saying earlier, though, is even though Spock's lines were fairly well written, it wasn't to character.
You feel like he's usually a bit softer as a commander.
He's not as particular.
I felt like he was grumpy in this episode.
Yeah, exactly.
Maybe Vulcans get grumpy, and they would never admit to it.
No, he can't. It's emotion.
Yeah, he's a
no-nonsense guy.
Maybe it's like the opposite of their punfar or whatever it is.
Perhaps. And like
maybe it's his time of the 7 years.
Yeah, like perhaps he has sort of like ebbs and flows to that blood fever. I don't know how it goes.
Maybe.
Why
are we talking about all this? That's the thing that bothers
Spock
me.
And Scotty. Scotty would say things like, "Hey, like he's like, we're on the other side of the galaxy, or we're 1,000 light years away. He's like, that's impossible. He's like, it's not impossible. We're clearly
We're
here.
here.
So how would you get your game on, Scotty, and go, well, it's not impossible because it clearly is a thing. And we're here.
I watched this episode with my daughter, and I had to pause here because this is literally what she said at this exact scene. My God, that man has a round face. That's exactly what she said. I'm like, okay.
That's D'Amato
He's
there.
not wrong.
When he was meeting Lysira. Yeah, he's got one of those like
He's got quite a
old-timey
round
faces.
face. Yeah,
You know?
Like
Yeah.
he almost looks like a statue. Yeah. Anyway.
Yeah, that haircut
Cesarean
too.
section. Maybe it's a cesarean section. His head didn't get squished through the canal.
Maybe. Oh, she's gonna try to touch his shoulder.
Look out!
Uh-oh.
Don't let her touch your shoulder, man.
Don't let her do it. There's McCoy. He's like, God, I wish somebody would touch my shoulder.
What's this called?
Dave's like totally off track now.
I don't know where we were. I was on the other thing.
We were talking about Spock and he's being uncharacteristically grumpy and particular. It was funny for the first couple minutes, and then it kind of got tired.
Yeah, well, okay. Scotty was like, I'll sit on the warp engines myself and nurse them. He's trying to have a little fun with Spock. He goes, that position, Mr. Spock, would not only be unveiling, but also undignified. Yeah, you're right. He's grumpy. He's just like, damn it, Kirk isn't here. I can't, like, normally he spends, like, he's on a road trip with Scotty, basically, to get back to the starting point. And that's what I think this episode kind of is for him. You know, for whatever reason, I don't know. Him and Scotty seem to normally get along and have a pretty good working relationship. But in this one, they're a little bit more at odds, I think. They're a little bit more of the odd couple here.
So did you notice that when he comes around the rock, he sees this body sitting there, but at that point, they don't know he's dead. Right? Like, why isn't he trying to attend to him right away? He has to wait for McCoy to come by. And then McCoy's like, yeah, I guess it's an emergency. And he kind of trots over there.
And if you go back, even if you go back 15 seconds, Jody, when they find the bottle of Lieutenant D'Amato, he scans him so quickly. He gets out his little scanner. He goes, oh, all the cells in his bodies have been destroyed. I could tell that from scanning him for 2 seconds.
Hey,
Yeah.
headquarters.
He barely looks
and
at the
even
reading.
Turn him over. They didn't even turn him over.
So see, Kirk's literally like, oh, look, a body. And then McCoy's like, oh, I'm a doctor. I guess I'll go over there and check him out.
But Kirk doesn't do anything when his men are like dead on a
No,
planet.
like he's literally staring at a guy. He's not even like walking over to like check a pulse or anything. He's just like, oh, whatever. I got doctors.
I don't even bother to learn their names anymore. He says D'Amato a few times, in a very specific way.
D'Amato.
It's a good point though. Like it's really dangerous to work on this ship. There's like a lot of deaths.
In Starfleet in general.
If you worked on this ship and you found out like tomorrow, like you're on an away mission with Kirk, you're like, fuck you, I'm not going.
Especially,
I'm gonna die.
Yeah, like 50% chance, maybe coming back.
You wouldn't be on the crew.
Would you sign up for Starfleet if you knew that if you lived in this universe and knowing like what the chances are? Would you sign up?
Probably.
Well, all of them would.
I'm still too curious not to.
They all did, but would you, Dad?
If that's what I signed up for, yeah, I wouldn't.
No, but yeah, but would that call to you? Would that appeal to you? I suppose.
Yes.
Yes, okay.
Yeah, because you're on that for a reason.
But it seems like a weird woman robot will try to seduce you and kill you.
You don't know that when you're going into it, though.
You don't know, but like,
no, you got to be on the command team.
Now, the one thing I do want to give credit for here is the set design, because it looks decent. And the scene where everything's shaking.
Oh, that was a great scene.
They had like 3 different platforms all moving like different ways and shit. It actually looked really good. I was like, wow, they don't do that anymore. It's all CG'd and shit. But
yeah,
it's like they were really losing balance. Like, you know,
oh yeah, well, I think they actually were, because like I think all of them were on different platforms and they're all just kind of like getting jostled around.
You know, Spock took a big fall on the bridge too.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was funny too with Aurora.
But usually the falls on the bridge are just them playing with the camera, right? Like it's
what
not
was the one where like
happening to
Spock
the
hit his
actors.
head and he's like, "Yeah, my head got I hit my head," and it was something weird. And they're like, "That's not what we were asking about." Like when the ship first got knocked across the galaxy. or whatever, 1,000 light years away. Just on the death of Lieutenant D'Amato, I wanted to mention that they said that they can't bury him because they tried to dig him a hole with a grave with a phaser, but that's not effective because the planet's made of some kind of metal, right? Because it's actually not a planet; it's some kind of outpost or artificial planet. So they say, well, I guess a tomb of rocks is the best we can provide him. Kirk says it might be the most suitable memorial at that. And the reason I'm bringing it up is because ultimately Kirk will die on the planet Viridian 3, and
Yes.
he'll be buried
with rocks
in a tomb of rocks by Picard
in Star Trek Generations.
in Star Trek Generations. Yes. So it's kind of like that's what made this episode, I guess, a bit more significant to Kirk's story, because it's an example. Like, you see right there,
until you mentioned that, I never even thought of it.
he lays the final rock there on that.
What's weird about this episode, I don't know, none of you guys picked this up, I don't think, is when they were beaming down to the planet, they all saw the girl.
Yes.
And none of them mentioned it on the planet. And then the only guy that mentioned it was D'Amato, just before he got killed. He mentioned it. Mm-hmm. And then when they got into the cave, they go, "Oh, you were the girl on the bridge, or in the transporter room." Right? So,
well, they hinted that there was some sort of breach, though.
All of a sudden, they remembered who this girl was, but they didn't bring it up as to a possible. Okay, there was a girl. What was that?
Yeah, it is weird.
Well, they're also in mid-phase too, so maybe that's
the only
something.
explanation. That's the only credible explanation, is that somehow that because they were in mid-transporter, their memory of it is a little bit fuzzy.
Well,
this scene drives me nuts. So this is the scene where Scott's walking by, and what's his name is sitting over there. He keeps looking over his fucking shoulder. Why does he do that?
He's not.
Did you notice that? No, what? 3 times he looks over his shoulder at Scotty. It's like it almost looks like he's up to something.
Maybe he's playing like Tetris or something. He doesn't want Scotty to see
maybe
it.
he's like, he's got like a Nintendo or something. Yeah.
But yeah, that's all I can.
It was just creepy. I was like, why did he keep doing that? I first thought like maybe he was like taken over by some alien species or something, but it's like, no, he's just looking at him.
Also, while we're on, sorry.
Yeah, that man's playing Galaga. Was my joke.
Don't get me started on Galaga.
While we're on the subject of it too, like Scotty was saying, there's something that doesn't feel right in the warp engines, right? He calls up to Spock, and Spock tells him, stop being an emotional douche. And then but then Scotty's intuition ends up being right, and Spock should listen to it.
Well, that and the clue that they had that the stars were in the wrong place. Remember
yes, that's I didn't quite understand what that clue meant at the time. Like I wasn't like what?
No, because it was early. But that's what it was. Is everything was negative. That's how he had to switch the polarity on that wrench he was using, and they switched it to something completely opposite, which should have blown them up, and it turned out to be the right way to do it.
Okay, I also good points. I also think that there's some credit we need to give here to Watkins, because not only does he try to throw off this this Losira automated system,
whatever. He told her a bunch of crap.
He told her a bunch of like lies. And then right, he's like, "Hey, there's a strange woman here, and she's trying to kill me," and then he dies. But at least he said something, unlike that D'Amato who just screamed and didn't try to. Point is, if you're about to die, scream out to whoever can hear you what's happening, so they can give as much information as you can. Try to remember that if you're ever going to die. Okay. Let's get through the rest of this. Kirk finds out that he figures out the planet's fake. Not too long after this, he starts to put together that there's no way that when the tricorder readings and everything else that this is not a thing. When Spock or Sulu later, he takes the first watch, I guess, when they finally decide that they're going to have a snooze, and when he meets her, he says, "I don't want to have to kill a woman." Not my favorite line. And then he goes, "She was so evil, so beautiful," Captain Kirk. After she attacks him, in a session with these beautiful women and how men are paralyzed by beauty. is the number one theme of Star Trek, the original series. I think
It really is, isn't it?
Yeah, but
Yeah.
she was beautiful, man.
Well, she was Catwoman.
She was Catwoman.
Who was that actress?
Lee Merriweather.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So this is one of the Catwomen.
She was one of the Catwomen from Batman. Yeah.
Is she the one from the movie?
She's the one who fell into the bottomless pit.
I think she was the movie one, actually. Come to think of it, yeah, you might be right.
No, she fell in the bottomless pit in Batman, the show.
Was she?
Yeah.
Yeah, she.
Yeah,
You might be right. Yeah. Come to think of it.
definitely right. That show really traumatized me. Because I was kept thinking about a bottomless pit and how bad that would be to die that way. You'd be falling for the rest of time.
She could tell you.
Yeah, she could tell you.
Well, it says she was Lisa Carson. Maybe she wasn't Catwoman then. I thought she
Batman
was.
movie,
No,
1969.
That was the TV series. Oh no, she was Catwoman in the Batman movie, and then in the TV series she played different people. Yeah. Okay, that makes more sense.
Yeah, she's only the movie Catwoman.
That's right. Yeah.
Okay.
And she's the one who was singing. Because remember, like with Bruce Wayne, and they were singing French songs to the moon or whatever.
Oh yes.
Who was the Catwoman in the Batman show, Dave?
That would
be
Eartha Kitt, wasn't it?
No.
Or not Eartha Kitt.
Julie Newmar. And Eartha Kitt is the season 3 Catwoman. Yes.
Yes. Eartha Kitt was the season 3. Yeah.
So that's the trifecta. But Eartha Kitt was never on Star Trek, to my recollection.
I don't think so. No. Maybe she was. I don't know. Anyway.
But she wasn't. Okay. This is not a Catwoman discussion, but it almost is. So
it almost is. I love that.
It is.
Yeah.
It wasn't, but now it is.
Yeah. Okay. More on. Let's go. I'm just kind of going through the plot points and some of my notes. Uhura was like trying to look on the bright side all the time to Spock on the bridge. She's like, well, maybe something will go. We're not into gambling here, Uhura. We're not into speculating. She's like, yes, sir. Yeah, he's not the best boss, Adam. I'm like, is he frozen, Adam?
I think Adam's frozen.
Okay.
He's really contemplating life very hard.
Right. Jody, this whole thing about how they were going to blow up, right? The Enterprise was going to blow up. Scotty figures it out that the engines are overloaded and they keep going faster and faster and faster. And Spock's quite calm about the whole thing, and Scotty is quite not calm about the whole thing. And what was your whole feeling about their dynamic as they were trying to solve the crisis? And
you know what? It wasn't bad.
Yeah,
I thought it was okay. Yeah.
Did you?
Wasn't
just
okay?
Special,
but
Dad.
What?
Do you like Scotty and Spock and how they solved the crisis?
Yes, that was very good.
I think it would have been better if Spock was written a little bit better. I think Scotty was fine, but I think the scenes with the two of them trying to figure out the problem, I think, could have been a little bit better if Spock was written better. But I think Scotty was fine, except for Scotty constantly trying to, make it so we can't see his finger that's missing.
Yeah, he goes to a lot of. If you're thinking about,
you can definitely see it in this episode, though.
Oh yeah, he has to.
Yeah.
He goes to a lot of work.
Away. I'm like, oh, there it is, or there it isn't, I guess.
Also, I keep going back because the story really flips between the two storylines over with Spock and
it really does, yeah.
With Kirk and McCoy and Sulu. All of a sudden, Kirk's phaser starts overloading and it blows up.
Star Trek convenience right there.
Yeah, but why wouldn't this planet have done that earlier?
Yeah,
that part I wasn't quite. I didn't quite get. You
know what this episode reminds me of? This reminds me of the TNG episode where Picard and Beverly go down to the planet, and it's got those little probe things that got the little stick on the bottom of them.
Yeah,
you remember that episode? Yeah, that's the episode that reminds me of this, I think.
Yeah, I think the one where their emotions are connected together.
Yeah, and there was another one that threw them 1,000 years, or something like that, 1,000 light years, or something like that.
Yeah, there's been other times where the crew has been separated from.
Yeah, so I think this episode paved the way for a couple different ideas of episodes in Next Gen.
Mm-hmm. Dad, which one was your more preferred storyline here between the two? Were you more into what was going on with Kirk, or were you more enjoying the Spock story part of the story?
Spock stuff. Yeah, Spock stuff.
Spock stuff.
Yeah,
same for you, Jody.
Definitely better. Yeah, the Kirk one was just. It almost felt like it was added on at this point. Like it was more exciting to watch the dynamic of Spock and Kirk. Or I mean, Spock and Scotty, trying to figure out the whole problem that's going on in the Enterprise. But at least this time it wasn't just Scotty. Somebody else was with them this time. Well, usually it's like everybody's on the planet and Scotty has to deal with it, right?
What I did enjoy was maybe more of this, how like Kirk and McCoy and Sulu having to work together against the Losiras, because they figure out that the Losiras are trying to kill specific people. They're like coded. All they have to do is touch a specific person, but because when the one that's trying to kill Sulu earlier on can't kill Kirk, and so they have this little trick where they protect each other until the computer figures out, if I just send one at each of them all together, they'll be overwhelmed. But it takes the computer a long time, this very advanced computer, a long time to deduce that. However, it could be due to this guilt and regret that the Losira personality put into the computer. So the plot tells us at the end. Is Adam back? No. Okay. We kind of, I don't know, like we've hit all the main plot points, other than like it kept escalating with like between Spock and Scotty, and the ship was about to blow up, and he tells Scotty to reverse the polarity of his tool, and Scotty's like, push the button, I can't get it out. And Spock's just like, yeah, I'm cool, I'm chill, I'm not too worried about it.
Okay, I don't know what's going on there, but I'm back.
You're back. So is Adam. Let's see. Let's bring him back in. Or he was here. Where'd he go? I'm so confused.
He's messaging me right now.
I think he's having some technical issues.
Does appear that way.
Okay, Dad, they're dropping like flies here. It's just you and me now.
What happened to everybody?
I don't know. They're having some technical difficulties. Jeez.
Well, Jody said he had to go off.
No,
he's back. But...
I'm here. I don't know. I think BeLive's going a little nuts today.
We are having technical difficulties.
We are definitely having technical difficulties.
All right. Well, let's try to keep
Bravo
this
to you
moving.
to have that actually set up and ready to go, Dave.
Oh, I have so many Big Brother ones. That's Julie Chen Moonves, wife of Les Moonves, sex criminal and the destroyer of Star Trek, the one who canceled Star Trek Enterprise, and killed Star Trek on television for over a decade. But
yeah, and then when it came back, we didn't get good stuff either.
Well, there was licensing issues. We could have a podcast all on that subject. And okay, like maybe just wrap this up in terms of the story. We'll see if Adam comes back. When we met, what did you guys feel about this like whole ending here? Like with the maybe even the question of is it transitory, Jody, or does it survive? That was what the question we're left with to end this episode.
I think many men have pondered that over the years. Honestly, I think it still survives.
There you go. Dad, does it survive or is it transitory?
What the
beauty as a concept or as a
I don't know.
We're getting way too philosophical here.
Let's get into fun facts then.
Oh, fun facts. Okay, I wasn't ready, but I can be. Hold on.
That's what happens.
I'm ready now. Lee Merriweather is one of the 4 actors to appear in Star Trek, having previously played a Batman villain. There you go. Merriweather portrayed Catwoman in Batman the movie. Malachi Throne played False Face during the first season of Batman before playing Commodore Menendez in Star Trek The Original Series The Menagerie Part 1. Julie Newmar played Catwoman in TV series and was seen in Star Trek: The Original Series Friday's Child, and the final Batman special guest villain to go from Batman to Star Trek was Frank Gorshin, known for his portrayal of the Riddler. Also appeared as Commissioner Bell in Star Trek: The Original Series Let That Be Your Last Battlefield.
Which
so
was
there you go.
Well, the second episode or third episode we did on this podcast.
I think it really was. Yeah, it was pretty.
That's old
it's
news.
Been so long ago. So long ago. Yeah. James Doohan lost a finger during World War II and constantly hid the right hand during the series. While changing polarity on the magnetic probe, his hand can clearly be seen. That's when I saw it, which shows the absence of his finger. That poor finger. It
Would
died.
they just been better off to say have written a thing into the story why Scotty is missing?
Well, the problem is though that the future is perfect. You see, which means everybody has 5 digits on each hand.
They didn't want to show any amputees of any kind.
Yes, Lieutenant Radha is both the first explicitly Hindu character shown by the bright red dot on her forehead, known as a bindi, and the first Enterprise helmswoman, sorry, not Hells.
Yeah, I thought so because we normally I've seen, but Uhura has filled in at the helm on occasion.
But she wasn't a helmswoman, so she was just kind of a fill-in. The new access tube was created for this episode to show where the matter-antimatter reaction chamber was.
Yeah, it feels like ants going all over his body.
It does.
Yeah.
Pavel Chekhov.
Refrain from subjective descriptions.
Yeah, Chekhov doesn't appear in this episode. However, Kirk does mention him, which we got the little. If I wanted to have this explained or whatever, I would have brought the
Russian history lesson.
Russian history lesson. That's it. Yes. The bypass valve room that Watkins entered consists of reused pieces of the Yonda control system from Star Trek: The Original Series for The World Is Hollow and I Have Touched the Sky. The control panel was reused for the Vitan's torture chamber in Star Trek: The Original Series, The Empath. That's interesting. Spock's calculation device was reused from the remote control prop created for the original series, Spock's brain, which I don't believe we've gotten to yet. I think that's one of the last episodes we're going to be doing.
If there's if there's thing I like as much as uniforms, Jody, it's props.
It's props.
And things and this control unit that Spock has is quite bizarre. It's like this little colorful, it looks like a little Rubik's Cube typewriter. And what he's doing with it at times is something else. Also, when Scotty was going into that tube, he brought 2 guys with him whose only job it seemed was to push his legs into the tube.
Yeah.
It seemed like for running a starship at warp 14, and he's sitting right next to the friggin' ship that makes it go. You'd think that would be hot.
You think he would want a little protection, like maybe a suit, a radiation suit?
Yeah.
Exactly. Oh, I think do I hear another member? I do. Adam's back. Welcome back. Another occasion where network decency standards had a big effect on the costumes worn by women. The beautiful Lasora, is it Lasora or Lasira? Lasira, I guess. Costume had a strategic flap that covered her navel. The networks usually didn't allow the showing of a woman's navel in 1969.
But they showed navels before this.
In 1967 and 1968, you were allowed, Dave.
Yes, you were allowed, but in 1969,
so this was like a retroactive thing. Because I was like, oh, this is a little bit more conservative looking, even though it's season 3.
There's other shows where you can see that.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Absolutely, we know we've seen a lot less. We've seen where they barely have.
It was Lee Merriweather.
That's when some of those rules came into effect, I guess.
They had just a loincloth covering that one on the Roman planet or whatever it was. The one that was ancient Rome, but it was 20th century.
Yeah.
Anyway, sorry, Jody.
No worries. The Russian seismic event that Sulu mentions is the Tungsta event, which occurred in 1908 in Siberia. So there you go. And of course, this episode takes place in 2268. So that's quite a little bit.
Even though it aired in 1969.
Amazing.
That's notable.
Not really, but anyway. Sulu discusses the silicon creature on Janus 6, i.e., the Horta from Star Trek: The Original Series, Devil in the Dark, which I
did pick up on that, and they were like, "Well, that was a different kind of living rock thing, and this is different, so can't do that."
So this is the first and only time a tricorder is shown on the automatic distress setting. In place of the usual data disk storage slot, it has a flashing light panel. Since the storage slot is visible in a previous scene, it must be on the type of swivel, allowing it to be rotated to reveal a panel, which the unit was placed on this setting.
I noticed that too. Yeah, I was like,
"There's normally not that." Prop Man.
I did. I was like, that's gonna come up in fun facts.
That's gonna come up for sure. All right, what else do we got here? Normally, characters are perfectly still when being energized. When Lysira appears in the transporter room while the landing party beams out, Kirk is able to look up and see her kill the transporter chief. McCoy's facial expression is also slightly different. So there you go. So that maybe that makes more sense as to why they didn't really acknowledge that she was there, but yet she was there and they saw her.
They don't react to her quite as you would expect.
True, yes. This is the last episode of the original series, which Enterprise crew members Watt, D'Amato, and Watkins die on screen or close to it. However, in Star Trek, the original series Requiem for Messiah, whatever, Kirk will report in his opening log that 3 crew members have died of Rigelian fever. So there you go.
Okay, but these are like the last on-screen deaths of original series.
Yeah, of those characters, because all 3 of those characters did more than one episode.
Okay,
so they've all been on at least one episode.
So the bodies were hitting the floor here.
They let the bodies hit the floor, exactly. This one kind of falls into something that Dave said earlier. After D'Amato dies, Kirk uses his phaser to dig a grave for him. This is the only second time in Star Trek where a crewman is buried by a landing party on a planet. The first occurred in Star Trek, the original series Galileo 7, one of my favorite episodes. Usually dead crewmen are returned to the ship. A similar burial will be shown in Star Trek Generations in 1994. One could also say that a crewman is buried by the landing party on a planet when Kirk is able to kill and entomb a mutinying Gary Mitchell on Delta Vega in Star Trek, the original series, where no man has gone before, although no formal ceremony is shown. So there you go.
And then in Star Trek Voyager, when you die, they just put you in a torpedo casing and they launch you out the...
Well, you know what? When you're 1,000 light years away or whatever it was,
it's a fine maritime tradition.
You just shoot him out of the tube.
Yeah.
Anyway, I think that's it.
Because that's what they would do if you died at sea, right? They would just drop you off the boat, right?
Yeah, a little bit more than that, but yeah, essentially same idea. No point in carrying a body around.
No point. Okay, Adam, we lost you for a while. Was there anything else about this episode you wanted to note on?
I'm just reflecting on Spock's bad mood more. Maybe when he got hit in the head.
Oh no!
Oh no, we lost him again. God,
he was on a roll.
He was almost there. He almost had a point in. Oh, I'm getting
okay. Well, let's get. I guess we'll go over to ratings while we're transitioning and waiting for Adam to come back. Okay, so let's rate this. Dad, you want to start us off tonight?
Yeah, I'm gonna give this one about 7.8.
A 7.8. So you didn't like it quite as much as this side of paradise. I'll give it an 8. It's a solid episode, but it's not extra good for me. Adam will come back to Jody. You want to go ahead?
He says he can see us now.
Okay.
Apparently, so I don't know if you can bring him back in.
Not yet.
I'll give you. Pardon me. I'll give you my my thing there. I'm gonna do. You know what? It's somebody's calling me. Sorry about that. Guess I should have muted that before we started. I'm gonna give this a 6.5. It's a mediocre episode with some interesting things in it. So.
Okay. And then Adam is back.
I don't know if it was Adam that was trying to call me. Might have been Adam.
We should be able to hear you now, Adam.
I'm here. Can you hear me?
I can hear you. You didn't just try to call me, did you, Adam?
Nope.
Okay, that was just a coincidence.
I gave this a 7.
A 7. Okay, so you and Jody are a little bit lower than myself and Dad, but we're not that far apart. We're talking about a point and a half spread here completely.
I'm the
With
only
an
one
average
lower
of-
than IMDb.
Yeah, 7.3 for us, and then 6.6 in IMDb, which is pretty low, and a 7. So this is like average-ish, pretty average, because our average overall to date is 7.2, and this is just a little bit more than that. Yeah. Now, and as mentioned, like the only thing maybe other worth noting is that, well, not only is it airs in 69, but it's in 68, but it's ensemble. It was more of a mix, other than every episode being Kirk, as we've had. All right, so let's bring that down. Oh, and we also need to pick our next episode for Star Trek: The Original Series. Dad, did you have something in mind?
So somebody else should pick.
No, I'm going to pass on to Adam.
Is Adam
Charlie
still there?
X. Charlie X.
Oh man!
You want to do Charlie X?
The
Okay,
minute I saw that on the screen, I'm like, he's gonna pick that.
Well, we got to do it.
we got to do it, and
Yeah, we got to do it.
it's not the one you want to finish with, right? So,
No, it's definitely not an episode you want to finish with.
all right, so we'll be doing the season 1 original series episode Charlie X next.
Oh yeah.
That's not Jody Simpson.
No, that's
Hi,
not
Jody Simpson.
Hide this. Oh, there we
What's
go.
going on here?
I don't know. I don't even know how I accomplished that. So
I don't know either. I think Be Live might be more of an issue today.
It might be. Yes, the fine folks at Be Live will be getting quite a tech desk ticket submission from me.
There you go.
And I'll give them a piece of my mind. Watch out. Okay, so Charlie X will be our episode next week, next Monday night, here on Live Long in Podcast, as we will be, as we only have so many left.
But Dave, isn't there other Star Trek that we can think of in the meantime?
And in the future, Jody,
In the future.
Which
All
is
right.
fitting because it's all about the future. Yes, as we've been winding
Boy,
down,
I
we
wish
have
there was a podcast that I could watch stuff about Star Trek DS9.
well, Star Trek Deep Space Nine, Jody, we talk about that every Tuesday night at
You
9.
do? Oh,
Yeah,
wow.
with Jeff Mader and the Millards
Smooth
and Jaemeel
segue.
Robinson and other great guests who've come in for the episodes. It's as you know, Jody, Deep Space Nine really gets good in the 4th season in particular,
About halfway through the 3rd season is where it starts getting.
hey, and that's what we're in. We're just wrapping up the 3rd season.
You're in
We're
the
doing
sweet zones now.
We're talking about the episode Facets tomorrow night. It's the one where Dax talks to all her previous hosts, like they all inhabit the bodies of the DS9 crew. And Odo and Curzon become like a fusion character for an episode. It's quite an interesting one. So check that out Tuesday night at 9. We're talking about that. And then the finale next week when Sisko finally gets promoted to captain. Took long enough. All right. And then we have 13 episodes left here of Star Trek: The Original Series, and then we'll be transitioning to Star Trek Enterprise on Monday nights in a number of weeks. Also,
It's a long road.
it's a long road getting from there to here, but that road is shortening.
I'm going to make a
And,
special intro for it, too, I think.
It's gonna be
that
good. It's gonna be
podcast.
good. I like
It's going to be
it.
the first podcast that me and Adam are going to run.
Yes. Also, we're going to be doing. We have our whole back catalog of Star Trek Radio Theater, which we will be coming back probably later in the summer once things get a little less busy. And then we have our movies and different shows. Speaking of which, Star Trek Lower Decks coming back for season 2 starting August 12th. And we're covering that over with Jaemeel Robinson and Jeff Mader starting on that.
Yeah,
Then
I might have to
Discovery.
squeeze in a couple of those once in a while.
Yeah. And then on Discovery, Adam, you're going to be there for Discovery season 4
Yes, I
when
am.
that comes along. And
Or
then
as I
Star
like
Trek
to call it,
Picard.
As I like to call it, the final season.
And then Star Trek Picard
Not that I'm into the know or anything.
is on the horizon too. I don't know who's going to be on the Star Trek Picard panels yet, but there's so many Star
Probably
Trek
me.
shows. So
Strange
many
New
things.
Worlds.
Strange New Worlds is just wrapped their first season.
You know what,
we know
Dave?
Star Trek.
If you need Star Trek, I think this is probably the channel that you want to be on.
Yeah, I think so. This is the pod. This is the channel where we talk about it all, and we give you.
Where can you see Star Trek and Ted Mater on the same show? Come on.
Only here. We have an
Only
exclusive
here.
deal. We have an
Only
exclusive
here.
deal.
If we can find a way to
Um,
mesh Star Trek and golf
I have
together,
an
this would be the
exclusive deal.
ultimate.
Yes,
I only have an exclusive deal with the
I see.
series right now.
he's working on a new deal. but it's-
You know what? If I
I'm-
throw a
New
2-for-1 Subway coupon in there, do you think that might Could that make the ball roll a little bit more? All right, that's all we got for the budget.
Ted, you got to hang in for at least a round of golf.
Oh, yeah, Adam's paying for that. Oh, see, now he left, eh? Or now that he has to pay for it, I get it.
Oh, okay.
Get out of there.
I see. Oh, I was like, is that a joke? No, it was actually the screen said left. Also, let's see if he comes back. Also, I think that's all the Live Long and podcast stuff. I'm also going to plug our other channel, which is Super Mater Brothers Podcasting. That's Jeff and I's channel, where mostly we've been talking about Big Brother USA season 23, which just is now in the second week. Check that out every Sunday, Wednesday, and Thursday. Jeff and Jaemeel and I talk about that as every episode airs. The 16 are not.
My money's on.
You're going for Alyssa? I got a quote.
I think I already voted on I don't care. I think that was my vote.
I will never die. Alyssa is here. Yes.
That's Alyssa.
I don't know who Alyssa is, but I'm guaranteeing you that's a white woman.
Well, yes. Okay.
Just by how she's saying that.
Yeah, that was actually Brittany at the end who goes, yes. Anyway, so check that out 3 times a week. Also, Marvel Cinematic Universe podcast. Jaemeel and Jeff and I, we talked about Loki season 1 for about 3 hours on Saturday.
Yeah, I saw the runtime on that one. I'm like, yeah, no, I'm not doing that one.
You know what? You can listen to installments.
That's
just
true.
Pick it up. On your commutes and everything else. Hear what we had to say about that. Plus, we talked about Black Widow and Falcon Winter Soldier and WandaVision earlier in the year. And finally, Trivial Debates is our third channel where we talk about movies, TV, sports, and more. Coming up, I got to turn off the camera here. And bring in for this Sunday, it is coming up this Sunday. We got Mike O'Connor hosting with Jody, Adam, and Jeff competing in our monthly installment. Check that out.
He's got some questions, man.
Holy,
those were good questions. They were hard.
I haven't even answered yet. I have to do that tonight.
I got in first, and I was surprised I got in first because it was brutal.
Yeah, there was some interesting ones. We were previewing them. We were talking a little bit last night on the Big Brother podcast, including what's the best Ken Burns documentary. We have what is the most controversial call by an official in a championship game or series. And
those are the two easiest ones for me.
Yeah, which historical cult has had the most bizarre rituals or beliefs?
That one I had to look up. What
conspiracy theory is most likely to be true? You know, Jeff Mater is going to love that category.
Oh, yeah.
So, we got... Oh, is Adam gone again?
Oh, man. Yes, Adam is gone again. He says he can hear us, though.
Okay, well, I'm not sure what's happening. I don't know if it's...
I think it's Be Live because I keep getting a message saying the host is connected. The host is connected. The host is connected.
So maybe it's me.
I think it's Be Live. I don't think it's you. I think it's Be Live because it's still hosted through them, right?
It is, yeah, but I'm not. I shouldn't be reconnecting like that. Okay, well, I think that's all the stuff we have to plug right now. Thanks for listening.
Okay, guys,
thanks, Dad.
I got another call coming in.
Ted's got something to watch at 9.
Okay.
It's my lawyer. My lawyer wants to negotiate my.
Okay, well, that's an important call. You better take that, or it's gonna be gone. All right. So well, thanks. Thanks. Now it's it, and maybe I think Adam's back to close her out.
Well, that's good.
I think here maybe. See,
I
keep trying to bring him in.
There he is.
Adam. It's coming.
Adam is very salty.
I am very. My wife moved my desk like 4 feet this way, and maybe she got me out of the zone. The Wi-Fi zone.
Oh, you're doing this on Wi-Fi? Oh, that's part of your problem.
Yeah.
Be Live hates Wi-Fi. Yeah. Be Live hates Wi-Fi.
Yeah. It's true. Okay, well, hey, we're just wrapping the show up. Make sure to check out our shows this week, and thanks, guys. And we'll be back to talk about Charlie X, everyone's favorite character, next. All right. Until then, thanks, Jody. Thanks, Adam. And live long.